With Jesse Simonton, Brent Hubbs, Volquest.com. Day 2, Tennessee on the practice field, getting through the acclimation period, trying to get to some pads. Again, today was a lot of drill work, showing some athletic ability. Let's start with the defense. What stood out to you today?
Oh, we were walking out here talking about it. I thought a guy like Mincy, really showed some power and burst when they were working with those dummies, really pounding the sled. Emmett Gooden, I think clearly he's like the leader of that group. Now, he may not be a vocal guy, but with his effort and kind of being first in line every time, I think that's good. We're also seeing a calmer Tracy Rocker. He's kind of being a little more hands-on in terms of technical teaching, but there's not as much kind of bravado and screaming, I think. He has a young group that hadn't played a lot of snaps, so I think he's trying to take them along slowly.
Well, and I think last year he had such a veteran group. Even though he was just getting them, he was trying to create a sense of urgency with them. I don't think he wants to necessarily tear the pups completely down. It's interesting watching Henry T today. Wasn't perfect, but the second time around seemed to get better. We were talking about this earlier in terms of grasping things and processing. It seems to happen pretty quick for him now. Not in pads, doesn't mean he's an all-conference player as a freshman or anything like that, but the processing seems to be there.
Yeah, you can see why he was such a prized recruit. I mean, he's a guy that came from a powerhouse program. He clearly understands and can kind of process and pick up things quickly, and athletically he moves really well laterally for a guy that's 6'2", 235 pounds. That linebacker core is going to be interesting. It's clearly Daniel Batuli's group. Will Ignat, Shannon Reed fighting for those number 2 reps. Who's going to play that Will? J.J. Peterson continues to struggle, so there's an opportunity for Henry T to really kind of create himself an opportunity to find some snaps.
Yeah, and how quickly he picks things up, how quickly he can grasp it. It's going to be interesting to watch. Watching guys in the secondary, I like Tyus Field's athletic ability. Not sure how big and physical he is at this point. Guy who jumps out to me size-wise, whose body looks as different as anybody, is Trayvon Flowers. It's very different than it was a year ago.
Yeah, and he's a guy who can move at that size too, has great ball skills. I mean, I think Tennessee, the staff here is probably as excited about Trayvon Flowers as really any guy in the secondary. One other secondary note today, McCullough got a lot of work at star. I think that's going to be a position, again, they're going to rotate a bunch of bodies. Today it was the freshman's turn to kind of get that work there at that spot.
And how quickly can somebody grasp that as long as Balaam Buchanan is out, and who knows when he'll be back. Let's flip it to the offense quickly. I thought Juwan Jennings had a struggling start, dropped a couple early balls. Clearly he was not elated with himself. Quarterbacks were maybe okay today, but your thoughts on the offense?
Yeah, I thought JG was a little crisper than yesterday. He had 2 air mails early, but then he kind of found the rhythm. Shrout and Maurer were a little bit hot and cold. I thought the receiver, honestly, that's caught the ball the best the last 2 days is Brandon Johnson. Brandon Johnson also won when they did the one-on-one press coverage release routes. He beat a couple guys. I had this in the notes. Warren Burrell's running third every time. It's clear that Tennessee wants that freshman cornerback, to basically get snaps behind Bryce Thompson and Alante Taylor. My last note, Tennessee worked on a new drill today. We've kind of talked about it. What will Jim Chaney bring to the offense? That jet motion, I think you're going to see a lot of that out of different formations today. It was out of a bunch formation, 2 receivers to the wide side or short side of the field, running to the wide side. You had guys like Murphy, Callaway, Palmer all taking reps with the running back as the lead blocker.
And we also saw with the tight ends today, even though they're not in pads, the emphasis there is physicality. They went straight to a sled to start practice today at that position. That does it for this edition of the 2-Minute Drill. We got photo galleries, practice observations, and practice highlights all up at Volquest.com.